Not all spells are created equally, however. Take this one for example. This is L's Speeding Bolts, which is a fancy way of saying a kind of standard machine gun attack. It's the standard weapon for most of the game and is well worth upgrading right the way to the top simply because it's so cheap. And it uses tiny amounts of mana. You can fire this spell off constantly and never run out of ammunition. Spell 2, however, is Mana Bolt. Now this spell offers a small area of effect, so it can take out groups of enemies at a time if they're particularly weak, and its damage capacity is slightly higher than the standard. However, look how slowly it flies. Yeah. You won't take out anything moving particularly quickly with this spell, but against stationary targets and slow movers like these jellyfish, you might just do well. Spell number 3 is Mage Beam.
I cannot stress this enough. Buy Mage Beam, upgrade it all the way at the first possible opportunity, and keep it. It's the best spell in the game, and will do you well against any...
I mean, seriously, just watch this. One bad guy down straight away, and you can take out groups too. Easy.
Not that Mage Beam isn't without its problems. It does eat up a huge amount of mana, but once you've upgraded your mana capacity a little bit, you'll find it's extremely useful. For one thing, it's direct fire, which means you don't have to lead fast-moving enemies a little bit in order to hit them.
Spell number 4 is Bender's Balls. Yeah, I didn't name it, don't blame me. Anyway, this spell's a little bit like a Sidewinder missile. Makes it a little bit more difficult for the faster moving enemies to avoid it, as you can see. Although, not much, and the damage isn't fantastic. Plus, it's quite an energy eater. However, at level 3, it delivers a broad field of destruction. Spell number 5, Purple Spreadfire, had great potential, but failed to live up to it. As you might guess, it initially shoots out 3 bolts in a wide spread. However, each individual bolt does such tiny amounts of damage that it's hardly worth it, and it eats through mana at incredible speed. Even though the higher levels allow more spread fire and more bullets, it just isn't worth it. Spell number 6 is the worst spell in the game. Energy Blade, it's called. Now, I presume you're supposed to poke your enemies to death with it. It doesn't seem to produce any kind of projectile, but no matter how much I ram into these jellyfish, nothing seems to happen. Spell number 7, Displacer Bolt, is a little bit more useful. It basically puts your enemy out of action for about 3 seconds. Now, that's not really enough time to do anything to them, but fortunately, by the time you've upgraded to level 3, it'll be putting them out of action for about 10 seconds, which is just enough time to pump them full of something a little bit more deadly. Apparently it also does a small amount of damage, but I can't say I've noticed. Spell number 8 is another turkey. It's supposed to generate 4 lasers at the point of impact, but as you can see from this video, those lasers very rarely emerge from the target. Similarly, spell number 9, Protection Spheres, which don't protect very much by the way, are supposed to cause damage to anything they come into contact with whilst orbiting your body. I tried this out on a turret, but it didn't seem to be doing much to me. See? Absolutely useless. Spell number 10 is the Absorbing Sphere.
Now, this is actually a really cool idea. After you activate the Absorbing Sphere, it circles your body, much like the Protective Spheres. However, this time, the first spell that you successfully strike an enemy with is recorded by the sphere, and henceforth it will use that spell to attack any enemy that comes too close to you. Of course, there is a problem with this. Just watch this clip.
There's the Absorbing Sphere, and here I go to attack the turret and...
That's it? 4 or 5 shots and it's gone? It's nowhere near enough, and this spell cost me half of my original mana bar to cast. Fortunately, there's a little trick. Let me show you how to get the most out of this spell.
First, purchase the spell as usual and then return to the game. Activate the spell, like so, and choose the spell you want it to use. Find a target and fire off. Now quickly go back to the buying screen and sell the spell again. And booyah! The absorbing sphere never goes away. Now you can't turn this little exploit off, so make sure you absolutely want that spell active for the rest of the game before you use it.
There's one last spell I haven't told you about yet, because it's not on that list. That's the telekinesis spell, which is activated with the right mouse button.
If the mouse pointer turns blue, that means you can activate telekinesis by holding down the right mouse button, and that object will sort of gravitate towards your aiming cursor. And yes, you sick little puppies, you can throw the dead bodies of your enemies around. You can even use telekinesis to destroy enemies behind closed doors, like this. Now, in case you're thinking this is a bit of a cheat, the game actually expects you to do this. As you can see here, I'm using a sphere to destroy a generator behind a force field that I can't get to.
Of course, the one thing I can't show you on this screen is the gameplay. And this is where the cleaner makes up for all those little faults in its spell list. You just can't put it down. It's addictive. You always want to see the next level. The variety of locations you're given adds a lot to that longevity. I mean, okay, a few of the spells are tough. Well, that's always going to happen. There's always going to be a few weapons that aren't any good in a game. But the thing is, the ones that are good are very good. And that makes the game enjoyable to play, which is, after all, the whole point of a game. And it's free. What can you lose? This game comes highly recommended. Just stay away from the more dodgy spells and you'll have a great time.